Are you a woman who is ready to take control of her life and achieve anything she wants? In this podcast, you will find the inspiration and motivation you need to become an empowered and successful woman. Hi, my name is Laura Hearn, and I'm so excited for the new season of the Empowered Modern Woman podcast. This season is for women who are fed up with being held back by society's expectations. We're going to talk about everything from career advice to health and fitness tips to help you live your best life. So if that's something that interests you, make sure to hit subscribe and to tune in every week for each of our new episodes. Welcome to the Empowered Modern Woman podcast, and this week's episode is Inspiring Your Shine, where I'm interviewing Rebecca Keselburg. She is the founder of Inspiring Your Shine, where she helps heart-centered women with their branding and course creation. She really focuses on helping them truly understand what they were created to do, their God-given purpose, and how to let that shine through everything that they do. She is a busy lady. She is absolutely amazing. I met her in Las Vegas this past June, and I am so excited to introduce to you Rebecca Keselburg of Inspiring Your Shine and of Level Up Media. Hey everyone. Hey Rebecca. I am so excited for today's episode of the Empowered Modern Woman podcast. We are going to be talking to Rebecca and learning a little bit about her and her business. And again, Rebecca, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us. How is everything going? How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing so good. I love the summer. I love the sun. Sun is shining. The skies are blue. I am so happy.
That's the downside for me of having a basement office. Is that, well, I do have a window, but it's the escape window, so there's not a lot of sunshine that comes through, but I make excuses to go upstairs and let the dog out as many times as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta get your sunshine in. It was a little cloudy earlier today. I was like, boo, I don't like the clouds.
Well, and that's what I love about you, because everything about your business is about inspiring your shine and sunshine and being bright. And that is who you are. Like, whenever I talk to you, whenever I see you on social media, that is what shines through, is your brightness. And again, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being willing to be open and have this conversation, because I really think that your story in this conversation is going to provide a lot of women with insight and value about becoming a business owner, about the realness that it can be, that it's not just this fantasy land. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm down.
Awesome. So first, I want you to introduce who you are and what you do first, because I know that in the fancy introduction, I already did that, but I like hearing it from each person I talk to, their own individual introduction. So Rebecca, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Yeah. So my name is Rebecca Keselburg. My company is Inspiring Your Shine. And really my company and who I am exists because I feel and have been called to help people understand how they're knitted together, to help them to live on purpose. And then I've just added to that. So that's the core of everything. I believe that we all are uniquely knitted together, and we need to be honoring who we are and really living in our purpose that we were created to do, prepared to do. And so that's what we need to be doing. But then I help people take it a step further, and I help them to create a personal brand around that is really visually showcasing who they are and what they're about. And like you said, sunshine and yellow, that is something that expresses me. And so depending on the person, I can help them to express things visually by building out their brand. And then we get into the strategy of their brand. Okay, how does what you do and the purpose that you are created for and prepared for, how do we then now turn that into some sort of a business where you can profit from doing and fulfilling your purpose here on earth and making the impact that you desire to make? And so that's kind of the process that I take people through.
That's amazing. So when it comes to your business, what's most important to you?
Um, I would say just the connection with the people and helping them shine their light, like helping other people to rise up. It's kind of like I think of myself as I'm just a mirror, and the light that is in them, in my opinion, comes from God. And so when we are being who God created us to be, we are allowing that light to shine into the world. And so the problem is that some people have their light has been dimmed. And so I like to think of myself as like that mirror that I'm allowing the light of God that is shining through them that they're not seeing, and maybe they've dimmed and not let the world see, that I then now get to reflect it back to them. And then I get to help them to just lighten up the world with the special gift that they have. And so I have this incredible special gift from God of encouragement. And so I'm able to see it in them, mirror it back to them, and then encourage them to just stand in that power.
That is beautiful. Like, absolutely beautiful. So through this process of empowering your clients to really understand their God-given capabilities to stand in their light and in their abundance and put their calling out there, because that's really what you help them do, is let the world know their calling, their God-given gifts.
Yeah.
Through this transformation that you help them with and getting them through that whole process of branding and understanding who they are, honestly, it's self-development alongside of business development.
Yeah.
With your business, what is it that you really want to impart on people? Like, what is it that you want to be able to do on the grand scheme of things?
Yeah, definitely just help them to live out and fulfill their purpose. And, cause this is the way I view purpose, is that it has 5 different parts. And I call it, the pentagon of purpose, because there's 5 points on a pentagon. And so it is, that your personality, how you're kind of knitted together, and who you've been since you've been a child, it sows into this, your power, like what you are just so good at. And the big caveat on determining if it's a power or a skill is, do you want to do it? Because that's huge, because people ask you and say, you're really good at this, but do you want to? If you want to help them, then that's an indicator that it's a power and it's effortless for you, and it just comes so natural. You might not even recognize it as a gift. Then we have the pain that you've been through is actually part of your purpose. It has prepared you and your heart and has helped you to build character in a way that you can serve people through the things that you've been through, which is really beautiful. And a lot of people don't recognize that their pain is actually, can be used now for good, and it's a beautiful thing. And then your past experiences, of course. What have you been exposed to in your life that has uniquely prepared you to have a particular perspective and experiences, and built even skills to be able to do things? And so how many is that? Did I do all of them? I feel like I'm missing one. But when we start putting all of that together, your passions. So this is what's beautiful. What you are purposed to do, you will also be compelled and passionate about.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's just trying to figure out, like, where do all these pieces come together, and how can I actually build a business around that? And that's what my specialty kind of is. I absolutely love to do it, and people would be very shocked. I actually just helped a person build a brand, and it's called Nerdy Adventures. And she has been a collector all her life. She loves like Star Wars and Marvel and Lego and Disney. And she's passionate about all of those things. And so we're actually building an entire brand around her, just like showing up and like talking about those things and giving information that she knows because she's passionate about it. And it also really aligns with who she is and who she wants to be in the world. So
I love that. To me, that alignment piece is very, very important. And that's kind of what I like about your Pentagon, because you need to be in alignment, right? Because otherwise it becomes just a job.
Yes.
And it doesn't become your business, your fire, your passion. And that's why most people become entrepreneurs, is because their job wasn't giving them fulfillment. And so hearing about how you help people through their fulfillment journey to become more happy and more fulfilled and reach the potential that they didn't think was reachable is makes my heart flutter. I love it.
Yeah. So exciting.
And it makes perfect sense because you are you. For those that don't know, Rebecca and I met in Vegas. We didn't meet on social media. We met in Vegas at a Level Up event that our lovely Rebecca and Rachel hosted. Rebecca, I don't know, she might be called Rebecca. You're Rebecca. Becca and Rachel hosted. And meeting her in person and then translating that back to social media, which is kind of backwards from today's business world. Everyone meets on social media than in real life. It's been such a blessing to get to know you and hear your whole story and be a part of your story. So in hearing more and more about your business, it makes so much sense. Like, this is you. So it's just makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a common friend or somebody who we've met, Nicole Gebhardt.
Yes.
And Nicole, it was one of the people that I took through that process, and we had created a brand, Healing Cocoon. And now she's working on another project that I'm helping with, Worthy Femme. And, that's something I've been able to do with her too. And then she was a speaker at one of your events.
Yep.
And
it was interesting. It was during your speaking session where I was like, oh, let me go to her website, right? You had your QR code up. And then I was looking at your testimonies. I was like, Nicole.
Yeah.
I knew Nicole. She was at my event. And it's just silly how small the world really is. And that's a huge part of why I have people as guests on my podcast, is so that all of my listeners understand that you're not alone. There are other people that have been drudged through this journey of entrepreneurship, but there are ways to make it lighter and easier and take a load off, because support systems are so important in the entrepreneurial journey.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, Nicole couldn't have done what we've built on her own, but she had an incredible story, and we built her stuff really around the pain that she'd been through. And we were able to do that together, and it wouldn't have been something that she could have done on her own. And I didn't have her story, so I could have never built what we built, Her
story is if anybody wants to learn more about Nicole, let me know.
Really compelling.
She's a phenomenal woman. But for you, Rebecca, what has been some of the challenges that you had in the past with getting your path cleared and getting started for yourself in the entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I think for sure distraction, like always kind of setting my course and like, this is what I'm going to do, and really feeling like certain about the alignment of what I'm doing and stuff. But yet there's all of these opportunities. So I was one of those people that it was always like, I don't want to miss an opportunity. So I'm just going to walk down every path that opens up to me. And then, basically I just would get excited. I would open up every door, walk through everything, get too many things going on, and then be buried in work and be miserable, because then you kind of lose your way of what it is that you set out to do. And so that would say that's the biggest thing for me, is that kind of distraction and fear of missing out. So
FOMO is real.
Yeah.
It is very real, and it can cause procrastination unintentionally, right? Because you're like, oh, shiny, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't even realize you're putting something else off.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, how has that, like those challenges that you faced, how has that made you a little bit stronger by overcoming those things? Like,
yeah. Well, I'm thinking, that is definitely like a problem that I have, but it also, like you said, the distractions a lot of times we'll create them to avoid the thing that we're so afraid of. So I love that quote that says, the cave that you are afraid to enter is the one that holds the treasure. And I think that one of the things that I really had to face and confront at Level Up when we were together at that event is I really had to face the fact that I didn't want to be seen. Now this is something I think a lot of people can probably relate to. First of all, a little older. So yeah, I've learned a lot of technology and stuff, but it still isn't like the thing that I'm best at. And going live or being seen, because I've put on weight and I'm maybe not the person that I desire to be. I'm older, like I'm getting older. And so I'm watching my face change and I'm seeing myself in the mirror and being like, wow, I look like my mom, and not anything against that, but it's like, ooh, it just kind of like hits you. And so I think that I really was struggling to be seen and show my brilliance, but it was like a tactic that the enemy was using to keep me small, because look at what I do and how I can help people. And so I'm getting all in my own head about how I look and how I'm showing up, and being so distracted that I don't have time to do like really great social media posts or things like that. And so then, my light was dimmed because of that, and not able to be the force that I can be in the world. And so, yeah, I think that those were the challenges. And so then the overcoming it is just kind of like confronting myself and saying, get over yourself, like it's not about you and how you think you look or how you think people perceive you. It's about what you're giving to the world. And, I think we all can have these excuses, whatever insecurity that we have, that we're going to have to overcome that. We're going to have to face that insecurity and like do it anyway. And that is really where I guess, where I'm at and what I have to do.
It's been beautiful watching that transformation. Like from when you took the stage at Level Up, I could see the fear that kind of flooded your face when you stepped on the stage. You're like, oh my God, there's cameras. Like I knew there were cameras, but they're real. And I'm holding this mic so that the people on camera, on the other side of this camera, can actually hear me. Oh God. Like I saw that like panic flash through you, and watching you go through, your speech, and then when Theo worked with you on stage, to then my talk and kind of calling you out again on there, not meaning to pick on you, but just the way you were able to then answer the questions a little bit more confidently every time. And then to see you, it's been a month, and just to see in this month since Level Up, how much your light is shining so much brighter there's no words. There's no words. And I want you to know that I can see it. I can see the transformation that has happened in just a month.
Yeah. And, I think that this is something that happens with people. We go through seasons, and there was seasons in my life where I was shining bright and not afraid to be seen. And then you go through something. And I think, with the heaviness of COVID and all the feelings that a lot of people felt and all the stress, I kind of withdrew in myself. And so then once you don't do things for a while, then it gets you have to overcome that again. I've always, I feel like, struggled a little bit to be seen. I'm definitely not somebody who is like, oh yeah, put me on that stage. But man, you get me in front of any person and get me in a conversation, I'm gonna light up. I'm gonna light them up. And so, that is kind of the season that I had just come out of, is really just like that season of hiding and not really showing up in any way for myself. And so now that is now coming back to who I am, who I have been in the past, but who I kind of forgot that I was. And so I appreciate that you see that, because that was, and I think I always have this voice inside of me, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that, where it's like this, people are perceiving me in this way, and this is how I'm kind of showing up, but that's not really who I am. And I know that, but how do you express that? Because sometimes you kind of miss your opportunity to like show who you are to somebody, and that's their impression of you, and so it's like, dang it, now I have to like, they don't even know who I am. So,
well, a story about myself is Level Up. I did not go with my scheduled presentation of my normal master class. I kind of used it loosely, but I kind of went completely off the cuff in a very passionate way that I normally don't do. And I would say I came off 100% raw and authentic. And I also had lost my voice that week, for those that didn't know that. It was, to me, when I rewatch recordings of it, I cringe a little bit at myself.
Oh, no.
And even before I saw any of it, it was more cringing at the sound of my voice because it was so raspy from having laryngitis. But immediately, I hadn't seen or heard any of my own audio or video from it yet. I was telling everyone, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I was so loud and I was so rough around the edges. I am so, so sorry. Because that's what I've been told my whole life about myself, is that I'm too rough around the edges. I'm too loud. I am intimidating and all of these things. And I just let it loose during Level Up. And I immediately went into apologizing mode. Like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that I cursed too much. I'm so sorry. I'm this, that, the other. And everyone, you included, were like, no, that shit was hilarious. Like,
yeah, it was great.
Not only was it hilarious, like in a good way, it also was really serious when it needed to be. Like, you made it work. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I feel like I was too much. Again, imposter syndrome seeping in because of what I have been told since I was a child.
Yeah.
About being too much, being too loud, being whatever negative thing. And every person, I was like begging for forgiveness. Like, no one was visibly upset with me, but I was begging for forgiveness for the actions of which I thought being authentically me in that moment was inappropriate, because I've always been told to be put neatly in this box.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I have watched myself since then, and I'm like, oh, it was really good.
Yeah. Absolutely you were. And I think that I definitely was just like, I just love that you just like went for it. So what happened to me was God was trying to tell me, like, I could not figure out like what I wanted to talk about. I have lots of different talks, a lot like you probably do. And I was up until 2 a.m. the night before, like just wrestling with like, what do I say? What do I not say? How do I do it? Like what, and making it, is it going to be good enough and all of that. And I think that the whole time that God was just telling me, like, just go out there and do what you do. Like, you know your stuff. Like, but I didn't trust myself. And so I like had those slides, and it was awkward because I'm trying to do slides and look at what I had to say. And I've definitely done really amazing talks. That was not at all like an amazing talk for me. I'm fine with it because I think it ended up being what it needed to be for me to, and people still got value out of it. But, it was just really funny because you were in your most authentic self beating yourself up. I was in my not authentic self beating myself up. So, I think that and this is how I started my talk, if you remember, and I had to say it twice because then Alex dropped his phone in the pool. And so then we kind of had like an interruption, but it was good because it was like an icebreaker. But, what I had said at the beginning, how I opened it, was leveling up is painful. And that is just like the most truth. Like, my whole thing was kind of talking about identity, and I had some things leading up to it. And I actually missed my last slide, which was kind of how to step into your new identity. So like, I didn't even finish. I got panicked and I just thought I was over time, and I missed my last slide. But, like, that really is what it is that in order for us to have a shift and to step into that next level, to get out of our comfort zone, to expand, to become, to grow, it really is painful because everything is coming at you like, this isn't comfortable. This isn't who you are. Like, cause you have to, you kind of start being it, and then eventually you become it, that whole thing. And, so it was all about self-identity and having the shift at the self-identity level. And so that is what we all have to accept, is as we are growing and changing, you've got to get uncomfortable, and it's not going to be pleasant all the time, but it's not pleasant all the time.
And that's why they call it growing pains. Even as children, as they go through growth spurts, and their legs hurt or their arm hurts because of the growth plates, and they're expanding and they're growing. It's called growing pains. And through your business and just as a human being, we change our life events, right? We experience life.
Yeah.
And as you experience it, it changes you. It changes your perspective. And as your perspective evolves and changes, you're going to have an aha moment of like, oh, this. And then you have to realize, I just stepped into a new a new level, right? It's like in a video game where it's like, you just unlocked a new level. And you're like,
so true.
Oh God, never played this level before. I don't know what to expect, right? Because you've been dealing with that one level over and over again, right? You haven't beat Bowser yet, whatever.
Yeah.
And now you're finally like next level and you're like, oh. Yeah. What did I just get myself into? Am I good enough for this? Can I beat this?
You want to withdraw a lot of times. Yeah.
You want to go back to what you're used to. Change. People don't like change. Our brain doesn't like change.
Yeah.
And we try to convince ourselves that change is bad. Our brains is evidence-based machines, confirmation seeking. So we'll look for every reason why we shouldn't change and every reason why we shouldn't challenge ourselves. But once you push through that, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I've been witnessing you push through it.
Thank you.
And it's inspiring.
Thank you.
That is exactly the name of your business.
Well, that is so funny because my friend, as I was on the way to the airport, and I was actually in a conversation with a friend on the phone, and she's known for a very long time. And I was like telling her I'm struggling with like, I'm going to be in front of like these really affluent people. And I really don't even know I just had this block about what I was going to talk about. It was the strangest thing. I think it was like a spiritual attack. She goes, well, all you have to talk about is like, I am inspiring your shine. I'm right now inspiring my own shine. And she's like trying to tell me that. So it's so funny because that ends up being what kind of happens, even though I didn't really take her advice, but it was like, that really is what it was, is that event was really for me to step into my own shine, because everything that I'm telling everybody else, I need to live out too. You know?
And I think even though you didn't listen, right? You didn't listen to her. You didn't have your ears completely open to God, and you still try to go with this script and all of that. It was still a beautiful lesson that still inspired you, because you witnessed what happens when you didn't listen to yourself. Yeah. It still had a great message. We still connected, and I was like, yeah, I know Nicole and blah, blah, blah. And we still connected through it, but it has shown you, see, Rebecca, this is what happens when you overthink it.
Yeah.
And you're still using that experience to push yourself through leveling up, because you were trying to go back to the comfort zone. And it's just, like I said, it's been so amazing to have met you then. And I feel like it was like a million years ago, but I just looked at the date. It was literally a month ago. And
yeah.
I really appreciate you being so open. Like, this has been really powerful, even just for little old me. But what advice would you give someone like yourself, who still might be unsure of how to kind of get out of the shadows?
Yeah, I think it definitely, I had a formula from the first program I ever created called Authentically You. And the formula was self-awareness. So we have to start at self-awareness. And then after self-awareness, we have to minus self-sabotage. And so that is getting kind of aware of what are the things that you keep doing habitually, that once you start to level up, once you start to break into that new level and grow, then you get uncomfortable and you draw back. Those are the sabotaging things, you know. So minus the self-sabotage, and then you start adding in empowerment. And that's really just adding people into your life and all of those different things that, you know, the success principles, if you will. And then you times all of that times your authentic brand. And so you and what you bring and what you're meant to do in the world, once you multiply it, then that is when you have success. And so I really do think if you're just at a starting point, you definitely have to start with the self-awareness, because you can't even overcome your own self-sabotage if you don't really know and understand how you're knitted together. So I do have something called the Personal Growth Guide that I can offer your audience for free. And it really is just like a wonderful thing to kind of take people through to help them to gain a little more self-awareness and to look at some of those things.
That's perfect. Well, just make sure I have that so we can link it in the show notes. So all of you lovely listeners, in the show notes, there should be this guide that Rebecca's offering you guys so that you can start that self-awareness journey, because You're so right. It's important to really understand where you are before any challenge group or group course that I offer. I always give them this pre-work for self-reflection to understand where they currently are and what their intentions are and how they're currently feeling of these different questions. And we revisit them at the end to show, you became self-aware by going through these questions. And this is all the work you did over the course of, this week, month, year, and look at where you are now.
Love it.
And it all starts with self-awareness of understanding where you currently are. So again, Rebecca, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. This has been amazing. And I know there's so much more to come. Everyone, make sure to follow Rebecca. She's doing amazing things with her brand and with a couple other amazing brands as well. So keep a lookout for Rebecca. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Empowered Modern Women podcast. Again, your host is me, Laura Hearn, and this podcast is for women who are fed up with being held back by society's expectations. We talk about everything from career advice to health and fitness tips to help you live your best life. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit subscribe and leave a review. New episodes come out every single week to help you find the inspiration and motivation you need to become empowered and successful. Be sure to follow us on social media at Money Mindset by Laura.